following program contains controversial subject matter. Viewer discretion is advised. The following episode of What's the Buzz is sponsored by Manscaped.com. Do you have sweaty balls or volleyball netty balls? It's time to make them ready balls. The Manscaped.com Lawnmower 3.0 will do the job and clean your knob with its patented no-nick head, so your head will function as desired. Enter promo code Wrestling Future for a generous 20% discount. That's enter Wrestling Future for a 20% discount. Manscaped.com and Wrestling with the Future, going balls to the walls with Manscaped.com and the Lawnmower 3.0. Your balls will thank you, and so will we. Welcome back, everybody. It's Thursday night, and we asked that question once again. Amelia,
Yes.
What's the buzz?
What's the buzz?
How you doing, kid?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm wonderful. We got a hell of a show tonight. I'm
Yes,
not going
we
to waste
do.
any time chit-chatting. I'm going to get right into it tonight. We've
Absolutely.
got a couple of she doesn't know, but she's one of my favorite authors,
Mm-hmm.
and I read a lot.
Oh, yes.
We have a returning guest tonight, and he brought his troublemaker with. So let's get into this. I want to welcome back to the show Alistair Cross. Welcome back, young fella.
Yes, welcome back.
Last time you were here, you garnered some beautiful numbers for us. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Tonight we have
Yes.
a young lady. He brings a young lady with us. She's a shy, unassuming kind of a woman. Her name is Tamara Thorne, and let me tell you a little bit about Tamara Thorne. She was born in the City of Angels, Los Angeles, California. She published her first novel, Winter Scream, in February of 1991 under her pen name, Chris Curry. A book that was co-authored, by the way, by L. James Dean. By L. Dean James, not James Dean. Dean James.
We don't talk about that. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Tamara Thorne has authored 20 novels plus, both standalone and series. She penned
Mhm.
the Sorority in 03, the Ghosts of Raven, and I love that one too, the Ghosts of Ravencrest, and currently partners with a young man named Alistair Cross. And let me tell you about Cross and Thorne joined forces in 2012 in collaboration. They've written over they've written several novels. I was going to give you a number, but they've written several novels, including The Cliffhouse Haunting, The Ghosts of Ravencrest, and Mother. And we all love that one here. They are, you know what, Amelia? I'm going to bust you tonight. They are active on several more novels together, and they host, and this is interesting, they host a horror-themed radio show, and I thought
Yes.
we were the only ones who did that shit. It's called Haunted Nights Live, Thorne and Cross, Haunted Nights Live, which is features such guests as Annie Rice, V.C. Andrews, and a plethora of others. A list too numerous to name here because it would take up all of our time. However, where we will waste no more time, let me welcome to the show Tamara Thorne and Alistair Cross. Welcome
Yes,
back.
welcome to the show.
Great to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you here. I have to tell you, I said this to Alistair when he was here on the first episode. I am not completely unfamiliar with you. I knew who you were before I knew that you were associated with Alistair.
Yeah, I've been around since God.
I like your work. I like your style. You remind me a lot of, and I don't know whether it's purposeful or not, but you remind me a lot of Mary Shelley.
I've actually only read half of Frankenstein. I wasn't a big fan.
Really?
No, yeah.
It's funny because you're whether you know it or not, your style, if you had to
Really?
categorize it as your style is very similar.
hmm
Oh,
It's
that's
the
Um,
atmosphere. It's the ability to
oh,
write great atmosphere. I think
I
because I agree. I was never a
absolutely.
fan. I was never a fan of Frankenstein, but boy, is it beautifully written.
Oh,
Beautiful
you
book.
know, it was Ray Bradbury was my big influence. That's where I got all the atmosphere stuff. I teased on him, and Sherlock Holmes was probably explains the Victorian sensibilities.
I noticed in your writing, Tamara, a lot of what you do is, and I'm sure it's quite purposeful. There's a lot of tongue in cheek
Mhm.
in what you write, a lot of it, and that's very reminiscent of Mary Shelley. It's also quite reminiscent of people like Poe, Bradbury for sure, um, guys like Dean Koontz, people like that. Very much tongue in cheek, and I think it plays very well into horror. Is that a purposeful and deliberate move on your part,
Oh
or,
Lord,
or
no.
do you unwittingly write that way?
No, I was hired to write a newspaper humor column once, and I did it for about 2 months before I just flat out quit. You can't do humor on purpose. It comes
Right.
from characters. And honestly, other than Bradbury, I would say Mad Magazine and the National Lampoon and Tom Lehrer, the songwriter from the 50s and 60s that I
Oh,
still
sure,
love.
hmm
That's more of my influence than, you know, the others.
right.
So
And
and
so
Monty Python.
and so so while it's interesting. First of all, there haven't been throughout the annals of literary history a lot of women that write horror. It's a rather select group in comparison, obviously, to the male writers. What drew you to the genre?
Uh, when I was a little kid, infant even, my mom read to me from the time I was really tiny, sitting in her lap. And I remember my very first real hard on, so to speak, was for the, which one is it, Alistair? The Return to Oz, with the Gump and all that was a spooky
Oh
Oz
yeah,
book. And she'd buy me every book I ever wanted, and they were always true ghost stories. And then I found Bradbury when I was about 6 or 7, and she just got me an adult library card, and I just love ghosts. I found Hill House when I was 10 or 11, and the science fiction reading expanded to that, and never looked back.
right.
And that's all. I just like it. Give me a ghost story, and I'm happy.
Oh man, I'm gonna tell you what, Amelia.
Yes.
Question for Tamara Thorne.
And I was also reading that you also like to do a lot of investigating before you actually start writing a novel. Has there been an investigation that you actually investigated that somewhere you investigated you really decided not to actually write about because it was just too much?
I just use bits.
hmm
And I always just investigated for myself for fun. I'd go somewhere and go, ooh, this feels good, and just let my mind wander. And eventually ended up finding out that sometimes I wandered into real things, which was weird. And then when all the ghost stuff became really popular on TV, people assumed that I was my character from Haunted and who investigated ghosts. And I started getting invited to investigate ghosts, which that's great. I love that crap. And they almost always, just like that character in Haunted, can write them off. But I've seen a few things. And Alistair and I, our first meeting together, we went to a place I was invited to investigate. And that's how we got to know each other in person. We stayed in a haunted cabin up in Gold Country where Mother is set.
He
And
said on his first go round with us that the two of, and he didn't go into a lot of detail, so I'm glad that I want to hear the rest of the story. He said that you met on a basically literary junket of sorts. Um, so fill in the blanks.
Yes.
well, we've
Did
been
you
working
hit it
together.
off right? Sorry, say.
Alistair, what did we do? We've been working together for a year or two.
Yeah,
And
we
yeah.
were working together for about probably a year or longer,
Yeah.
at least a year, because we
Please.
were working together for like a year, and then we thought, well, we probably ought to actually meet because
Yeah.
we're in different
If we
states.
smelled okay to each other, that kind of thing.
Yeah, we're in different states and stuff, so we thought, we need to meet up somewhere, and I had never done any official, I don't know what you want to call it,
Ghost
paranormal
investigating.
investigating or whatever, and so she invited me to go with her because she's been doing this for a long
Centuries.
time.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the last
You were
century.
you were even on one of those famous ghost shows a long time
I
ago.
was. Yeah, that was weird.
Yeah,
And
but
yeah.
So she asked me to go on and investigate it with her. So we did, and it was that's how we met.
Exciting.
face
Yeah.
to face. Yeah.
It sounds like serendipity took over and fate kind of led the way.
Well, neither of us like telephones, and the first time we talked was on a phone, and we have not skipped a day talking, at least by text, ever since. We won't talk to anybody on the phone otherwise, just each other.
Yeah, I hate talking on the phone. It's weird.
Me too.
I
But
love you two guys already.
I know, right?
Seriously, you get phone calls and you're like, why are you
Brother,
calling
I
text?
hate the phone.
Text,
I
like a
can't do it. I hate
civilized person, for God's sake.
I had 3 phone calls before the show tonight, and I swiped them all away.
Yeah.
Because I don't like talking. I really don't.
no, we just text.
Yeah.
We seem to be twins, mental twins. We write alike, we talk alike. Sometimes we even dress alike.
Yeah. Well, you definitely write alike. Now,
Yes.
was that serendipitous? Do you think, Tamara, or did you find that you pick up on each other's idiosyncrasies and styles?
We were just writing about that because we can't tell. We write together in the cloud on, while we're on Skype all day. And look at my hands. Anyway. So we realize, and we're literally writing together. We don't really know which one writes what. And when we do that, we go back and we have figured out a couple ways we can tell each other apart. When I write T-shirt, I use a capital T and he uses a lowercase t. That's one way we know who wrote what. And that's how similar we are. Yeah. And then every time I think he writes sexier stuff than I do, we read something back that I wrote, and it's like, nope.
She always thinks that I get nastier.
Yeah,
than she does, and I just all I have to do is remind you of that scene that you wrote. We won't get into it here because even though it's just nasty.
Well,
he's gonna have to tell us now.
Yeah, you have to tell us now.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what. I'll give you a pass on that one temporarily.
Okay.
Alistair, let me bring you in over here. Clearly, Tamara brings to the table a level of experience and a plethora of work that you are now catching up to. Were you aware of the full body of her work when you met her?
Yes.
Okay? Here's the question I've got that follows into that. Knowing what you know now, what is the greatest lesson or the best gift you've achieved or ascertained from her knowledge or from your knowledge of her?
Trusting myself, trusting the characters, trusting the voice, the story. I can't stress enough how much when you start doing this, you get advice from some of it's well-meaning, some of it's just stupid. Yeah. You get all kinds of advice. Do this, don't do that. You have to do this. Don't ever do that. I was running around in circles trying to figure out, well, how the fuck do you write a book then? There's so many books out there. Seriously, obviously it's not, but I was listening to too much advice and having a really, really hard time with that. And when I met her, I'd already been published, but I was still kind of in that it was really early. I'd only been published, one book. And anyway, once I started working with her and talking, getting to know her and her process, I remember being like, well, like for example, in the Crimson Corset, I have a character who has tigers. She's a vampire and she used to be a tiger trainer, and she has, a couple of big tigers. And I remember saying to her, I really want this character to have tigers, but, I can't. And she said, why not? And I said, well, because it's just too much. And she's like, no, it isn't. And I went, okay.
I agree.
And I put tigers in the story. And it just, if you are an intuitive enough writer, not to muddy the waters with a bunch of unnecessary things. And people talk to you as if, when you're early on, as if you don't have that intuition. And what Tamara taught me was that if you're a writer, you do have that intuition, and you trust that intuition. And I did. And I feel it's so freeing. So I would say that's what I've got from her more than anything is
that's really, and I'll tell you what, I want people to really, like, when you watch the show, go back and watch it again and listen to what he just said. I can't overstate how important what he just said is in the grand scheme of writing. I've written 2 books, and I learned from somebody who wrote a lot more than I. There's never such thing as too much, because at the very least it's filler for your book, and it makes a nice fat book that you could get more money for. That's
and
what he told me.
If you have to cut it out, lots of times there is a little too much, but it can go somewhere else. It's amazing. Nothing's wasted.
You end up with a book that looks like this,
Right. And if you happen to make a movie of it, you could put it in the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so great to have
Tamara,
too much instead of too little.
Yeah.
Tamara, Alistair mentioned your process. Does that involve the burning of candles or human sacrifice of any sort?
No, I have cats. So I can't burn candles. Yeah. Mostly my process is whatever he says it is. I'm not real aware of it. He just.
Well, that's a great
What's
segue.
my process, Alistair?
Mm-hmm.
I would say that your process is not to interrupt, but I would say that your process is intuition, and that's what I learned, because that's the other thing. You get told, this is how you plot a book, this is how you outline a book, this is how you taught me that have an idea of the end in mind.
Yeah,
maybe
a roadmap that you don't have to follow.
Yeah, have a couple ideas for a couple endings, and then just let your characters tell the story, and that's your process, and that's my process, and that's
Thank you.
Works.
I didn't know that.
have either of you guys have either of you guys suffered from what they referred to as the writer's block?
Nah.
No.
That's
never.
That's
in a lot of ways, I think it would make life easier.
Let's talk about that a little bit. Believe it or not, Alistair, we're going to go there.
Okay.
Tamara, let's talk about that for a second.
What, writer's block?
What is right? Yeah, let's talk about writer's block. You hear
it's when you think you can't write, either because you're unsure of yourself or because you want to procrastinate. All I do is start writing anything, and it can be dirty, it can be funny, it can be the lyrics to a bad song. Right now, because of what I'm writing on my own, I'm writing a lot of bad sea shanties. And then if we're stuck, Alistair helps me write really dirty sea shanties, and we end up the story. And that's how I get over it, and I'm pretty sure he does too. Mm-hmm. Do you, Alistair?
Yeah.
Let's talk about that, Alistair.
To me, it's a matter of writing and also reading. If I ever feel stuck, which, the closest I've ever come to writer's block is, I guess I'm kind of not sure about an idea, like where do I need something a little, new for this. But if you read, and I read a lot, I think that's kind of the answer. And if you are stuck, you just sit down and write. And like Tamara said, you just write, and I don't know. I've never, honestly, I've had it explained to me. I've heard people explain to me. It's like anxiety, sitting in front of the keyboard, looking at the empty page, and just panicking because you don't know what to do.
Yeah.
I've never, and I'm not saying it's not real. I'm just saying I've never experienced it. I don't know. I love.
I can tell you because you just brought up something that is so critical. And when I wrote my books, I only wrote 2 books, and they were 150 pages each, small books in comparison to what you guys read. And I had that moment where I had the alleged writer's block, and a guy that I call him my mentor. He says to me, "You're overthinking. That's what writer's block is. It's overthinking. Sit back, have a drink, smoke a joint, go for a walk, relax a little bit." That's what he said.
I don't do anything except watch TV.
So, you know what I did? I kicked my shoes back. I lighted up a doob, and and I chilled. And I'm within an hour, my fingers were going like roto speed here. Yeah, it's just. That's for me though, but again, that's what writer's block is for me.
The research is another thing that helps. I love research, and he doesn't, but I drag him along. And there's my solo is overdue, and I'm in the last part with I need some science for my bolonium, and my bolonium has to do with the ocean. And so we spent a couple hours today looking up what might eat its way out of human flesh and how fast it could, and how seahorses implant the males with the eggs, and then where the squid eggs go. And my husband walked through and went, "Oh my God, what are you guys talking about?" Now but now we nailed it. I know what I did to the faces of these poor men who have pox all over them now.
Right.
And and that was a type of blocking, because it was like, what do I do with this? I've built this whole thing, and the opening scene is too good to destroy. I need to explain it. And that was a type of block, and we fixed that today.
Amelia, questions for Thorne Cross?
Absolutely. I was looking at your book covers, and I saw the Sorority one, and I was like, just so intrigued just by looking at the book cover. I want to get that book just by looking at the book cover. How do you get your inspiration of the book covers?
I love Arthurian legend. Oh, the book cover.
Yes.
That is Brittany. Now, Brittany is a familiar. She's part chipmunk and part girl. And she's a familiar to Mallory, which is named for Sir Mallory Thomas, who wrote Le Morte d'Arthur. It's all Easter eggs. But we took it to our artist, and we used the same one, of course. And we found her, and then we told him what she does, scampers through the woods and climbs other girls and all kinds of things like that. And he did it. And it's just right. She looks elemental, and she looks sexy, and she's Brittany.
Yeah, I just love the book covers. The way you come up with it. Do you come up with the book covers first and then the story, or is it the other way?
Oh, no, it's the other way. The story always comes first. And that book has had so many different covers.
Oh, really?
Most of them have. Yeah. Even our books have started having different covers. You got to change them out now and then.
Oh, absolutely. To get the intriguing. Also, has there been another story that you've not really wanted to write, but you ended up writing after all?
I wanted to write one called The Forgotten, and my editor was terrified because he thought it was science fiction because I used a little bit of science in it. So he said, if you'll write me a vampire novel, you can write The Forgotten, which is really just a whole town is full of ghost stories, and it had to do with cable TV at the time. And it's real science. It's not even science fiction. But you can't even see the science in it. So I wrote Candle Bay, which was sort of a French farce of a ghost story or a vampire story, because I didn't want to write a vampire story. That's the only one, but I had a great time doing it once I started. And we still use Coastal Eddie. We wrote Darling Girls, which is his vampires and mine together. And the romance between my girl vampire and his boy vampire, and which now comes to a horrible head in his next book. And
Yeah, we're not. Don't tip the hat. We're not going to talk
not.
about that just yet.
Right.
No.
Not just yet. Alistair, let's sort of question your way. Something that you started to write that maybe you put on the shelf for a while, or something that became maybe obsessive compulsive for you. Maybe you had to write it.
One thing that I started writing that I never did finish, Incubus, a story about a dude that dies and goes to hell, and his job is to be an incubus. And I just had a really hard time with it, and I've got a little bit done on it, and it's in a file in my computer, and maybe someday I'll get back to it. But it's fun kind of thinking about like what hell must be like. And he's, of course, as soon as you die, you're standing in a line, you're given a number. Hell. But, and then as far as one that I was compelled to write, that would be, kind of all of them, but the one that really jumps out, when you say that, is Sleep, Savannah, Sleep, which is a paranormal murder mystery. I had just finished Dream Reaper, and I needed to start the next book, and I wasn't ready to go back to my Crimson Cove vampires. And I remember thinking, I don't even have an idea. So I thought, what's the worst thing I wanted to do? Because I was, I always kind of believe that, when you're writing, you what's the worst thing you can do to your main character? Okay, do that, and then do more. So I started thinking, I went to bed that night, and I started thinking, what's the worst thing I could possibly put somebody through? And I got it. And I went, okay. And I got up out of bed, and I got on my computer, and I took a note, and I went back to bed, and I laid there, and the first scene came. Got up, wrote it down, went back to bed. Second scene came. Needless to say, I was up until well after the sun came up. And by the time it was done, I had every single, and I've never done this before, I don't outline, but I had every single scene mapped out, and I was ready to go. And it just, I actually wrote that book, the first draft, in 25 days.
Wow.
It spent like 3 or 4 months getting, reworked and added to, but that first draft with 20, I was just like boom, 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 boom. I just knew it just came out like, and it's never been like that before or since. I don't know why.
Thank God.
Alistair,
Killed you.
It's exhausting. It's exhausting. I don't recommend it.
I'm going to throw a question, an open question to either of you, whoever wants to jump on it first. In a few minutes, we're going to see a couple of slideshows of your books and talk about them a little bit. In those books are many characters with many traits and variables and personality quirks, whatever. When you write a book, do you see that book as a movie play out in your head, or with that possibility in mind? Or do you write from a strictly literary standpoint?
It's a story in my head. I see everything, but I don't think about making movies. That would stall me out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Same.
Yeah.
I'd answer the same way. I don't really think about that. I do see it in my head. I have a pretty clear idea of what my characters look like, and it's pretty clear, pretty vivid. But I don't really think about anything except for the book.
I want us to take a look right now at this is Amelia's one of her favorite parts. Yeah, show and tell.
Yay!
We've got a couple of show and tells. I want people to take a look at this. This is perfect, by the way. This was perfect.
Why am I the one that escaped?
Because you had to come back.
Yeah.
I captured you now.
Okay, I get it. Okay.
Yeah.
I told you I had a wicked mind, didn't I?
Yeah. I'll tell you what. This is a sample.
Nice.
A sample of what they've written. Let's take a look at this. Is Tamara. Tamara, what I have to tell you something. Whenever a guest comes on the show, Tamara, we always do a kind of like a video slideshow, like a show and tell. So
Yeah.
Alistair has seen his,
Mhm.
and for your benefit, I will show you his. But since you're the newbie here, here is your slideshow as
Oh,
a
dear.
way of introducing her. You're
I
the
hate
exalted
cameras, you
mistress
know.
of
I
horror.
don't think, where do they get these? Where did you even find this
Oh
stuff?
God,
I don't.
yeah, that's not weird. I wish, but no. There's one of the Eternity covers.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I wanted to call that
yeah.
book Ice House, and they wouldn't let me. That's a
Amelia, is that the book you were talking about? Bad Things.
No, it was the other one.
Bad Things is one of my favorites.
Yeah, that's the one I wanted to get as well. That's the one. The sorority
I
is the
have
one I
to
was
get
talking
that.
about.
I've not
That's a
read
different
Bad
cover
Things.
than
I have
now,
to
but
get that.
yeah,
Mhm.
I
The
want people to
sorority is
take a
the
look
one
at
with the
it.
down there on the bottom.
This is a
that's the old
sample
cover. Yeah,
Mhm.
of some of Tamara's stuff and mixed with Alistair's in there as well. But
Mhm.
largely, this is there's the sorority, the
Yes.
Forgotten.
Mhm.
But predominantly, this is Tamara's writing here. You've got a lot of different characters here, with a lot of personality flaws and quirks, and perhaps for you too, Alistair.
Mhm.
How do you keep yourself from repeating a personality flaw or variable in a character
that was the
with
first cover.
with so much work that you've done?
Sometimes you don't. Sometimes you realize, oh look, this is Barbara again. But then you change it up enough that it's not Barbara anymore. For example,
Mhm.
Yeah,
But you do kind of tend to. I don't want to say recycle because everybody's their own
No.
character, but you don't always.
yeah.
What the hell is
This
this?
is
Yeah.
this is Tamara's her new work. It's called Dead Cat and
Cat and
Laundry.
laundry.
I
You
don't-
there's a
I don't
cat.
know where that's not me.
That's not you. Oh,
I
Oh.
look for anything but a cat, by the way. I
it was
will
taken
never.
right off of your Facebook page. By the way.
Oh, it's not my picture, but somebody's.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
I just thought that was funny, so I threw it in. There.
Yeah. Okay.
The other one. So now, Tamara, here's what we put together for Alistair last time he was
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
Give you a chance to take a look at it.
Another is looking all serious. Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm a serious guy.
Amelia likes that picture. Makes her hot.
I make everybody hot. Yeah.
You're funny.
No, it doesn't.
I love
I
that.
love that book cover.
Yeah.
Great.
Dream Reaper. I love that book cover.
Mhm.
Yeah, we just changed the cover on that one. That's the newest.
Oh yeah, that's a nice one.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about
He
that.
says that's me.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that in a moment. Serious.
The Cliffhouse
I've got some
Haunting.
questions about these covers.
That's Natasha. She's important.
That's Mother. Okay.
That's Mother looking at her daughter and making her crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a short hair version of Alistair,
Yeah.
looking angsty.
Was that the one that made you hot, Amelia?
They all do, right?
Yeah, right.
Evidently, they work on both genders equally all the time. That's the story of how we.
Now this here,
This is my new one.
the
Oh
Three Nights
yes,
in a
the old
Haunted
wives'
Cabin.
tales.
That's
Yeah.
part of a series, right? The Haunted
Yeah,
Cabin series.
that's the nonfiction account of when we went investigating when we first met.
Yeah.
Mm.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we talked about that the last time you were here.
Yeah.
Mhm.
This is
Very
our
good.
actual. We don't do Haunted Nights live anymore. We do Carnival Macabre.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Oh,
our
right, right, right.
Yeah, our podcast now is we did author interviews
For years.
on Haunted Nights Live for like 6 years, and we just recently switched over to we're just kind of doing our own. We do like it's just us.
Tower of London, and
Yeah.
we talk about ghosts and ghost stories.
Monsters.
I had Bloody Bones this time.
Yeah.
We saw a lot of artwork
Mhm.
among those two slideshows. Horror novels and romance novels, particularly interesting, those two genres, horror and romance, have some of the most elaborate artwork for their book covers. particularly and nowadays with horror, it's they almost look like Rembrandts and Picassos. Some of them are so abstract, but the artwork can't be denied. It's great work, and there are a lot of talented people out there doing this stuff.
Mhm.
One particular guy I know who does this is actually a tattoo artist.
Oh,
So,
nice.
So here's why I have my question is for you, for whoever wants to take it again, for both of you. Will you guys use a tattoo artist, a street artist, an unknown for your work?
we have one person we just love, and he does our websites too. We just use him. And
Okay.
he can take what we say and turn it into. He's an artist, he's like a really good writer. He's a really good artist. He can interpret us. We love him.
Yeah,
Would you like to plug him, or you want to keep that a secret?
we can plug him. I mean, his name's Mike Rivera, and
Yes,
anybody
let's
who's
give him some
interested,
kudos.
anybody who likes what he does, hit me up, and I will
Absolutely, yeah. I want to give the guy some kudos for sure.
Yeah, Mike Rivera
he
at I4 Solutions. He's fantastic.
put out some amazing work. Amelia, questions for Thorne and Cross?
Oh, absolutely. I was gonna say, the ones that you decided you were going to do different book covers. Was there a reason for the different book covers to get people more interested in the book covers, or you just decided to just do different book covers on those?
To keep them fresh, maybe?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you have to keep them fresh. And my regular big 5 publishers would always change them out every year or two. And we do that as necessary. Some book covers sell better than others, and we watch that. And, it's to keep it fresh, right, Alistair?
It is, and sometimes like in the case of Cliffhouse, it was like, I think Mother too. Like there's a couple that early on, before we had our Thorne and Cross logo that we have now, and of course, so it's to keep them fresh and also to keep them together, so that they look like they kind of belong together as much.
The Thorne and Cross logo, and I'll throw my 2 cents in for you. The Thorne and Cross logo is absolutely classic.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, we love it.
And that would be
brilliant.
Mike. That would be Mike Rivera. We told him, we just said we need a logo. This is kind of like what we like. This is kind of like what, and he just did it. He just
Yeah,
I love it. I thought to myself, this looks like it's been around forever.
Yeah,
it has that kind of look, like
fantastic.
It has a legacy to it, I guess is the way I want to describe. Let's talk about ideas. Where do you, Tamara? Where do you garner ideas from?
I don't know. They just come. Well, like Thunder Road, you mentioned. As I was researching Bad Things, which is about elementals like gnomes and trolls and things like that, my own take on them. So I was trying to find something about Hispanic elementals, and I ended up meeting Jacques Vallée, who was the French scientist they used for Close Encounters. And he's an astrophysicist, ended up becoming friends with him. Oh my God. That's the only thing I've ever fangirled is him. But his books on UFOs were fascinating. And Thunder Road takes place up in California's high desert at a place called Calico Ghost Town, which is run by Jesus freaks, but that's beside the point.
Yeah.
And it's known
I know what she's talking about.
UFOs. Yeah. UFOs. And along comes Jacques with these stories, and some of them were there, and all of a sudden I have a cowboy ambling around in my head going, I need a story, and I thought, UFOs, I'll write a mini apocalypse. And that's how that came to be. And then and I had I had a dream about a guy who loved killing people by skinning them, flaying their bodies, and I'd head him into the girls he was killing and a guy who was watching. So that made one of my main characters, who's actually a good guy. And then Eternity, which is that Old Wives' Tales. The main character from that is in Darling Girls, and he's the star of Old Wives' Tales. He came in a dream, and driving around in the mountains up by Shasta. I dreamed that story up. And what else? Forgotten. I wanted to write about my 3 cats, the Orange Boys, so I did. And I don't know. That's.
Do you ever watch a movie and reimagine it as a book?
I don't know. Maybe. Alistair, do you?
Do you maybe subconsciously?
Only in the sense that I think there are certain things that influence, and I'm only speaking for myself, but I think it's probably true for you too, Tamara. Like obviously things influence you, but I don't know that I've ever watched a movie and thought,
I want to write
that, or I don't know, not really know.
It's more like watching a movie and thinking how it compares to a book. Sometimes they're better, sometimes they suck balls. No, you never know. Yeah.
Well, I know Tamara Thorne's coming back. I like you, lady. Yeah. I like you a lot.
I like it.
Absolutely. Amelia, question.
I have to capture them both again, huh?
Question for Tamara or Alistair?
Yes. Either one of you guys is for either one of you. Conspiracy theories. Have you guys are really into conspiracy theories?
Oh,
yeah.
That's where some really, really, really good fiction comes from.
Cinderella and Forgotten are both conspiracy theory books, but yeah.
Into like maybe 2-part series or
around here.
I don't really buy conspiracy theories. I think if enough people are in a conspiracy, there's no conspiracy. But I should fun to laugh about,
Exactly. No, I know exactly what you mean for sure. Yeah, Amelia, go ahead. I'm going to let you have a couple questions tonight because you always say.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. She's always telling me, "Oh, you never let me talk." Well, yeah.
Hey, listen to him. See this? Look at that.
You never let me talk.
Right. No, I see that you also write a lot about witches and things like that. Is that something that you also researched, or did you actually know of a witch that you studied?
I research everything. I know a few. People assume I am, but I'm the world's first atheist. My mother told me I wouldn't believe in Santa Claus by the time I was 2. I don't believe in anything, but that's very good because it lets me write about everything. I love.
Oh, that's awesome.
I love.
Yeah, I don't read books about witches. They remind me of my ex-wife.
Well, the one that Alistair found me on, Moonfall. That one actually had some meaning to it because I wanted to write a book where an atheist, a priest, a good priest, and a real witch and evil witches and all that. The evil witches don't work with the good guys, but the priest, the atheist, and the witch walk into a bar and then they work together. I wanted to show that this is all, you can. Everything is defined by different words. When I say. My philosophy is that perhaps our souls live on. I don't know. Somebody who's religious might say, I'm going to heaven. And it boils down to the same thing. And that's just sort of, I like seeing comparative things. I think that's fascinating.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Good, Amelia.
Yeah, because I've seen people say that, we're going to write books about this, we're going to write books about that, inspirational things like that. And a lot of people don't believe in that. And I know that they're going to say true stories and a lot about hauntings and hotels. Have you ever stayed at a hotel where you've written about that?
Times. Yeah.
What's your favorite one that you've written about so far? Any of your novels?
Well, I change everything. And probably my favorite hauntings have been in private homes that I've investigated repeatedly. But there was the hotel... The Horton Grand in San Diego was a lot of fun. It's got psychic machinery, which we did a show about recently, because people stay there and they expect, this is one of the hotels where, Wyatt Earp stayed there, but he stayed everywhere. And the wardrobe will open automatically. We figured that out fast. You just have to step on the right floorboard. But during the night, there was a transom light to the bathroom, and during the night, I got up to pee about 3 a.m, and I wear contacts, so I'm death on keeping toilets, faucets, everything all closed up because I don't want to lose my contacts. Went in there, the toilet was up, the shower curtains had been moved, the towels had been moved. Sometime during the night, something moved all that, and I think it was probably psychic machinery, which is what happens when people have a lot of expectations and the
Yeah.
energy stays. I
Mm-hmm.
don't think it was a ghost, but
Yeah.
it sure is fun, and who cares if it is or not.
Right.
But
Amelia, should we tell Tamara and Alistair what I do for a living?
Sure. Go right ahead.
I'm a psychic and medium.
are
Really?
you really?
I
Mhm.
am, I'm credentialed by a particular 3-letter agency of the U.S. government. Yes,
Oh,
I only
cool.
work for one client, and that's the government.
Oh, I had a friend who did that till he retired. He was actually a goat starer, and he was good.
They used to call us profilers, but now
Mhm.
they call us seers, or I mean, they
Uh-huh.
changed the name every other whatever. But
Yeah.
anyway,
Mhm.
yeah.
Nice.
I've had a couple of private clients over, and actually many
Uh-huh.
private clients, but I only get phone calls now from from some law enforcement agencies, and
Uh-huh.
find the body, that sort of thing, and once in a while I'll get a call from like a doctor or the Mayo Clinic, or which I've
Uh-huh.
worked with in the past. But that's what that's what I do.
Fascinating.
Nice.
My 2 books were, the first book was called Psychic Fingerprints: A Life's Manifesto, and the second book was called Stay Tuned: The Psychic
Uh-huh.
Realm from a Theological Perspective,
Interesting.
and they were both handbooks.
Uh-huh.
And I wrote them as handbooks, kind of like a how-to or self-help books.
Oh,
Here's the
fascinating.
thing: if I'm doing my job well, you'll only need me one time. And I tell
Excellent.
everybody that. If a psychic does their job well, you'll only need them once. You'll never have to go back
Mhm.
for reading after reading after reading.
Right. There are some really good psychics out there. Aside from my goat staring friend from the government, I know someone I took into a haunted house that's private, and I
Mhm.
didn't tell her anything. She nailed it, and it's not a public thing. I was very impressed with her. I love it when somebody's for real. It's fascinating.
It is
Yeah.
fascinating. I agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, and the other thing too is I never take money for what I do. I don't profit
That
financially,
helps.
and I
Yeah.
don't want to. And the other thing is, I ran away from this for years,
Uh-huh.
years, and because I had this gift since I was a kid, and it's kind of fucked up in high school, though. It's like
I'll bet.
you want to be normal in high school,
Right. Right.
and you're like the fucking freak, and which
Yeah.
I'm a freak anyway because
Yeah.
I am who I
It's
am.
weird. Yeah.
But but it's particularly cruel, and the other kids can be very cruel
Right.
to a kid, especially if they know that you're a little different anyway. Um,
Right.
that's why I have Amelia here. She's a kindred spirit,
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean
Well, they'll pick on you.
that's me. I was just I'm fascinated when I hear people touch upon my realm because I want to know what their experiences were. Alistair, have you ever had the psychic experience or the paranormal experience?
Yes.
And if so, has it affected anything you've written?
I think, to be honest, I kind of think everybody has to some extent.
Oh, I agree with you.
I'm fascinated by you know the kinds of answers, I guess, the insights you can get when you're quiet.
Hmm.
You're just, you know what I mean. So, and I think
Oh
everybody
yeah.
can do that to a point, and
Yeah.
I don't know if that qualifies as, maybe some people think of it as like prayer. Maybe, I don't know.
Any
But
now? Yeah.
yeah, but so there have been things like that for sure. Um,
And there's one thing, Alistair, you and I, since since we met, we
yeah,
know when we're going to text each other. We pick up the phone before the text
yeah,
comes.
it's
We
really weird.
It's
It's really
bizarre.
weird. I do think some. You said that Amelia was like a kindred spirit.
Yeah.
I think that that's real. I
Oh
believe
yeah.
that. I think that there are certain people that you just kind of, it's just like there's a thread from your brain to theirs, or something. I don't know, but it's true what Tamara said. I mean, we've always done that. It's like, this is, I think, a big part of why we write so well together, because it's exactly the same. We want exactly the same things. But even more eerie than like that is like what she said. Like, I'll pick up the phone and to text her, and she'll text, and I'll get a text from her. And it's just like, and this happens so frequently that it's not,
it's beyond normal.
So I think I definitely have had experiences like that, and as far as how they have affected, or influenced my writing, I really don't know. I've always been kind of a oddball, and so
I can relate.
Yeah, so it's not really that odd, to me. I've always been, kind of a, I don't know.
That's an important thing you just said. What is odd to other people is normal to folks like us.
Yes.
Well,
It's in our operational norm.
Yeah,
it really is.
The way people have always described, the real world or whatever. It's just not interesting to me. I've always been interested in the step beyond. And and so I can't really say how that's. I mean, that is probably why I do what I do. It's just the way my mind is, I guess.
I want to tell people that Tamara Thorne and Alistair Cross are writing the continuing Ravencrest Saga and a sequel to Tamara's Candle Bay, which will feature Michael Winter Chynna from Alistair's vampire novel, The Crimson Corset.
Yes.
That's why
that's
I wanted
available
to do.
already. Yeah.
Oh, is that?
Darling Girls. It's what would you call it, Alistair? It's a one-off of both our books, and
Darling Girls is a companion novel to both of our vampire stories. It's kind of an odd. We combined worlds.
Yeah.
And I love when that can happen. That the metamorphosis of two worlds coming together to create a third. That's great. You've got, like I said before, you have all these characters. You have all these characters. It has to be. I don't know if it's time consuming or nerve wracking or pick whatever adjective you want, but you've got all of these moving parts of this thing called the book, a novel, right? And it can get very old very quickly using the same kind of characterizations. You have to stay fresh and on top of things. How do you do that?
They're all real people to us. They're all different people. They're not the same person.
That was the best answer anybody could get.
Absolutely.
That it really is, because as real people, we're as different as our fingerprints, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you're looking at a character in your mind as just a part of this cog in the wheel, it's easy to lose that.
Yeah.
It's real easy to lose that in the mix. What a fascinating conversation. I'll tell you what, man, this has been a fast hour. Holy shit.
It has. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's been an hour already. Wow. I gotta tell you guys,
we're character writers, not more than the characters tell us the plot more than anything. That's the important thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I'll tell you what, Tamara, Alistair, there's like no end of the conversation we can have. It's incredible.
Right.
I was just getting warmed up. We only have an hour show though.
Yeah.
I have to have you back again. Now, here's Alistair Cross, his second time around with us, a guy who says he doesn't like people to see his face, okay? The whole world is looking at his face now. Actually, the whole world's listening to your voice. Several thousand people.
We're used to the voice.
You know what, you guys actually popped my cherry.
Yeah.
I'm serious.
Yeah,
I never did face interviews. I just don't like it. I don't know where to look. I'm like, what does my hair look like? I just don't like it. I'm shy and backwards and I don't like it. When I came onto your show, I went, okay, everybody's seen me talk and move.
Mhm.
I need to get on TikTok. So,
Then you talk to me.
Right?
Yeah.
so now I'm on TikTok and I post videos all the time, and everybody's like,
Mhm.
"Oh," but
And
yeah,
normally, all we ever do, we only turn our cameras on to show each other our cats.
yeah, we don't
Yeah.
even look at each other's faces. I'm
Yeah.
not. It's just not my thing.
Well,
But
I'll
you
tell
guys,
you
you guys
what,
made it okay. So
that greatest compliment you could ever pay me, you told me tonight. I popped your shit. That's beautiful. And I can,
and you were
Hey,
pretty
look,
gentle about it too.
Yeah.
yes.
It didn't
We
even
have
hurt.
Yeah. And all we had to do was say
here.
please, right?
Nice
All we
and
needed to say
new.
please.
Yeah.
We're all family here. It's very
Yeah.
incestuous.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I said please and thank you, right?
Yes, you were
Go ahead.
very gentle.
I'm not
You
going
were
to
very-
step on your toes. Go ahead, kid. Have that, Amelia.
No, I told him, I said, all I said is say please and thank you.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Well, I'll tell you what. Let's start with the ladies first. Tamara, let's plug your website here. Anybody looking to find Tamara Thorne's work, it's simple enough. Go to tamarathorne.com.
Right.
There they will find what, young lady?
Everything.
There you go.
Yeah, books, links, and how I crawl on my belly like a snake. You know, what's
Yeah.
really not there. And the rest is Facebook and whatever Alistair's doing because he takes care of us.
Beautiful. And Alistair Thorne. Again, you can go to Alistair. Alistair Cross.
Alistair
I'm
Cross.
sorry. I'm merging the two here. Right?
That's right.
AlistairCross.com. And what will they find there, Alistair?
Same thing. Podcasts, upcoming events, news, books, you name it. More than you need to know. A
Beautiful.
lot more.
Naked pictures. Too. No.
Yeah, right.
My only fans.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, an amazing show tonight. We're lucky and fortunate to have you both.
You're great.
Amelia,
Yes.
tell everybody what's coming up, kid.
Yes, absolutely. We have an interesting show coming up. We have the Fake Moon Landing show coming up on the 19th, which is actually the actual anniversary that it was it 1969 that it happened?
1969, yes.
Yes.
Got up at 3 a.m. to watch it.
Yes, and then we have, let's see, we have Mr. Capone actually coming on the show. We have actually Alistair, not Alistair, I'm sorry, I can't even think today.
No, we've got
Already?
See, already?
Boy,
I'm
did
just
you
kidding.
butcher that
I got
one.
him on my
Oh,
Angelo
shit.
Capone coming on the show on the 21st, actually.
You butchered that one.
I got Alistair on my mind. See what you did to me?
Yeah, well,
He's a
apparently
Jerry
you
Lewis
do.
impersonator.
Well, after the show, Alistair, I'm going to have to give you some quiet time with her.
No, July 21st, we have a Jerry Lewis impersonator. His name is Angelo Capone coming on the show.
Oh
He is
my
a
God.
Jerry Lewis impersonator. I am going to see Jerry. And I lost control of this one.
I want to
going-
yeah.
I'm going to see Angelo Capone this weekend and Phil Solis.
Mhm.
Phil was our guest last week. They're doing a Dean Martin, Jerry Lewis tribute show this weekend.
Oh,
I
fun.
will be there, and I will be recording that interview for you live. And we will show it at a later date, but
Yes.
we will record it live. We will not broadcast it live,
No.
however. We have, oh my goodness, we have a bunch of stuff coming up for the end of
And then on July
July.
26th, we have the Kennedy assassination as
Yes.
well.
We're doing part 2 of the Kennedy assassination. We will show a film clip that's never been seen by the U.S. public.
No.
Cool.
It is the Orville Nix film, and it shows the fatal kill shot.
Yes.
And we got it.
Cool. Fun.
Mhm.
We got it.
Yes.
And it's available to anybody who wants it. You just got to know where to look.
Yes.
For that, I am excited about.
Absolutely.
It's going to be a good one. It's going to be a good one. I will tell everybody that once again, we will be. I will be on vacation at the end of the month. I will from July 29th to August the 7th. I will be gone. Amelia will be here with our friend, award-winning filmmaker Mike Messier. He will take over the show for that week with Amelia. So be kind to Mikey. Until I see you next week, everybody. For Alistair Cross, for Tamara Thorne, for Amelia, the pit bull Chapman. I'm just going to say, I'm Psycho Bunny. And I am Mad Dog DeCipio. I lost it. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.